Welcome to the Tomorrow is Not Today podcast. You've already started to create the life you want just by being here. Designed for you as a business professional so you can be physically, mentally and emotionally healthy, more productive, less stressed and living a life you truly love. My name's Kingsley and thank you for coming on another journey with one of our uniquely qualified professionals. Welcome to the Tomorrow is Not Today podcast. Today is a very exciting one for me. I have a great guest in the studio. We'll probably get into that in a minute. But I've been wanting to get Kosy in here because he's a guy who, even though we only met probably 12, 18 months ago or so, just his attitude towards people, his ability to build a big business, and not just that, but his technological expertise, no ego whatsoever, very humble guy, and I'm going to hear a little bit about his story today. So, Kosy, I want to ask you to start with, as we always do on the Tomorrow's Not Today podcast, first big question, how did you start a business called Blockstars?
All right. So, first of all, Kingsley, I'll say thank you so much for the invitation, and I'm humbled by seeing the other leaders who you got on this podcast. So I'm like, wow. I feel like I made it now.
Yeah.
Awesome. So thank you so much. So, all right, let's get into it. So, Blockstars, people say like, hey, how did you come with the name Blockstars? There's not much thought into it. What happened was pretty much, let's start with the name and then how the business happened. So, first of all, with the name, we were in a room throwing ideas. Hey, what should we call ourselves? And then being a tech guy myself, and in the same room, my ops manager Charlie was there, and then another member from the board. We were just discussing, hey, what should come on? So we are coming with all the tech names, the blockchain, Web3, all these things, and we're just talking about it, and we are super excited. So a lot of energy in the room, and then there's one of the other leaders from another business walks in and like, hey, Blockstars, and they're like, and all three of us are like, all right, wow. That's a great name. You know what I mean? It's like nothing to the tech. It's just a blockchain, and it's still like something. And we always treat people like stars. They're all superstars, And I'm a great believer in everyone has their superpower, but we just haven't found it yet. And that's why people are going through this process. But everyone's a superhero, So that really aligned with me as well, and gives a bit of blockchain, the Blockstars part. So like, okay, look, all right, cool, let's go with it. And did not think about it, and the name stuck to it. So that's how we got the name.
I love that, because often the hardest part of starting a business is coming up with the right name.
Yeah.
And it suits you perfectly as well.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely perfectly. So now, off air, you were telling me a little bit about how you actually got into this business in the first place.
Yep.
So let's go down that story.
Yeah, so pretty much I started and I joined an auction business as one of the tech guys. Actually, the first IT person to set up what you call networks and things like that, reset passwords and things like that. And I was in the process of pretty much changing my lifestyle. I was looking for something different, see where can I have a big major impact. And somehow I found this job advert on Gumtree, and I'm like, okay, must be a small business because otherwise they would be on Seek.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, you know what? Must be a mums and pops place. So I just applied for that one, and I got invited, and then I had the interview, and it's not as small, business as I thought. And then I, so had a good chat, and I'm like, you know what, this sounds like my type of people. I don't have to work hard in anything, I can be pretty much myself. So then I worked there, and then worked myself up to be the head of tech there, and then came to an opportunity, got us an opportunity to help one of the custodians with one of this called glass negatives. Do you know what they are?
No.
Okay. Actually, what they are. What they are, you have seen in the olden days, that's how the photography, they put a cape and then just burn it.
Yeah.
It's burning.
Okay. Yep.
So, and then the negatives are glass slides. And so we came across some of those ones, and then by going through them, what we realized was some of these glass negatives were from, the Ned Kelly's armor. So when Ned Kelly and his brother got, and it's a photo of all the armor. So, and then the things like the landing of the Gallipoli before the fallen soldier. So that's the first soldier jumping. I'm getting goosebumps, like first soldier jumping onto to the thing. So I'm like, there's no fallen soldiers. So looking at that, And the same time in end of 2020, we had this whole NFT craze starting. So we had to look at, okay, how can we help this custodian? Not just by auctioning these glass negatives, but how else can we do it? I think that's the greatest thing about that company is like, how can we add more value than what is, and that's, I would say that's how, we have an ethos. One of the ethos is like always help people more than you need one for yourself, and without expectation. So that way, you don't get disappointed when you don't get back. We never say like, hey, you owe me one, or you owe me lunch, or anything like that. We never use that in our vocabulary, because that's the only reason why you would help someone. Otherwise, don't offer your help, right?
So, I love that. That is so contrary to most business out there. It really is. If I do something for you, then I expect something back. Yeah. But that's not what you're about.
No.
I love it.
I think all of us were like that once upon a time ago, and something happened along the way. When I was a kid in school, because I never had lunch money. Like, my parents always gave me lunch box. But my friends are like, hey, can you get me like 1 rupee for a bun? And they'll always give me that. I'm like, oh, wow, this is like so cool. But they never said, hey, okay, you owe me that 1 rupee. These were like in your grade, I don't know, year 3, 4. And I think somehow when you're growing up, I think we lose some of those things. I think it takes that, okay, someone's after us, But I realized, hey, if you do something without expectation, then you don't get disappointed. So anyway, along those lines, and so we went our way to help this custodian, and they did very well, because they didn't even see about the whole NFT. They didn't understand the blockchain. They didn't need to understand it. Ultimately, the earnings from that really changed their lives. They were living in a housing commission in rural Victoria, so having the NFT money coming in, and they changed their lives. In the process, we learned a lot about this new technology called NFT. And then we said, okay, how can we help other people with this? And so we went in that mindset, and then Blockstars was born. So, wow. And then we never looked back.
So that's really cool. And it's just a concept that you've sort of come across by accident.
Yes.
But also in a field that you love.
Yes.
You're very passionate about.
100%.
One of the things, and most people listening to this are going to be business owners or senior execs. Maybe some people wanted to go out in their own business. And I think sometimes we make it too difficult. We try and overcomplicate the process. Now, it's not easy setting up a business and doing the marketing and sales and getting all that sort of stuff. It's not an easy thing, but we can overcomplicate the whole process and how we've got to have some unique unicorn that's going to take over the world. And it's not like that, is it?
Look, I would say it might be in some cases, but in my case, I would say I was like really lucky. Like, I was like super lucky in my life. I had to say that I was born at the right time, right place, the right parents, and everything worked my way. I don't know. I think I won the lottery of my life, right? Even meeting you and you inviting me to this join a networking group, and loved it. And I think along the way, you meet people, and you get opportunities given to you, but they don't given to you in a wrapped, hey, okay, when you do this one, this is what is going to happen in the next year in Iraq. You know what I mean? Nothing like that, right?
So nothing like that.
Exactly. So what happens sometimes you have to, and it doesn't work always, but what you're doing is you think about, hey, how can I use it and add value to it, and use that opportunity to do better for myself, but better for other people. And once you have that mindset, you can only see that, I don't know, I'm a glass half full type of guy. So it's very difficult for me to look at the other side. So I'm not wired like that. But then there are people who are wired like opposite way. And look, all I can say is like there are opportunities everywhere. And one of the things that I came across with the opportunities is that people say like, oh, Australia doesn't have opportunities. Or when I was in the UK, like, oh, UK doesn't have opportunities. When I was in Sri Lanka doesn't have opportunities. But there are opportunities, but we can't see it because we've been, pretty much we're born there, we live there, we know the law, we know everything, how it works, so we don't see the opportunities. Now, as soon as you go to another country, you only see opportunities. Because now your mind is different. You don't know how the law works. You don't know what the etiquette is. You don't know any of these things. Oh, you know what, if you do this one, you don't know anything. And that's why the immigrants always do well when you go to another country. It doesn't matter they come from a developing country to a first world country, or first world country go to a development country. Either way, because it's the differences, you start seeing opportunities like, oh my God, I used to do this when I'm back home. I can do this business here. I could not do it here. So you see all these different opportunities, and every country I've been to, I only saw opportunities. And along the way, because of great people, those things come to fruition. So,
do you think those opportunities that are there, that a lot of people, because if the opportunities are there and everyone or a lot of other people going, there's no opportunities, it's not possible, but someone comes along and goes, there is a massive opportunity here. What is that? Is that your mindset? Is that a willingness to be open to things? Is that a willingness to go, okay, this could be hard, but there's a big opportunity and I'm going to give it a shot? Whereas a lot of people go, no, I'm not going to work that hard for something that may not work.
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. Let me think about that. Look, I think it's a conditioning. That's what I was looking for earlier, conditioning of the mind, right? Now, my parents Sri Lankan. By birth, I'm not Sri Lankan, but my parents are Sri Lankan, so I would say my DNA is Sri Lankan.
Yeah.
And where my father's side is like all about education, all that. Where my mom's side is all business, right? So I don't know that I have that right DNA to become business or studies. I'm like somewhere between there, right? But I think you also need that right environment. You can't just go and start a business somewhere that doesn't support that, right? Infrastructure. Like, it depends on each business, each country. But if you look at like Australia as a whole, very new country, right? When we arrived in Australia, we said, okay, I was like, in the UK, I had this internet connection, like a 100 meg connection in 2007, 2008. I come to Australia and I got ADSL too. I just barely got 56K, right? And I'm like, frustration, like, oh my God, my whole life revolves around internet. And I'm like, oh my God, how can I? And then I realized this is a continent with, I think, 21 or 20 odd million people. And out of that, the working people, probably about, 5-6 million. The rest of it, like, older generation, younger. So I'm like, 5 million people managing, supporting a continent. I'm like, be appreciated that you got internet.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good. I've never thought of it like
right?
that. That's
so then you complain. You stop complaining and look at, okay, look, how can I make this work? How can I make this work? So I think that's opportunity. How can I make it work with what I've got? Necessity is the mother. I love that saying, because the less resources you have, you become a massive innovator, and with that you get opportunities. And I think that's what it is. I feel like that's where the opportunities comes along, and then you see opportunities.
It's really interesting how you put that, because you didn't look at it and go, I don't have this, I don't have decent internet, I don't have all of this going on. You looked at it and went, wow, I've got this, and these people, I can do something with this.
Yeah.
It's a completely different viewpoint altogether, isn't it?
Oh, of course, because I think most people, they want to be successful. Now, this is what I was told, right? This is what I was told. This is not my idea. I just come up with this whole, like, wow, right? And I was told, like, Kosy, a lot of people want to become successful, but sometimes when they see the signals of success, what success looks like, they get scared because they never had success, but they are very comfortable with failure, and they can say, I could have been so rich, but I had to do this. I would have been a racing driver, but I had to look after this. I could have been, it's always that, but this, right? And there are people who go their own way and become successful. But for the majority, like myself, I need to have people around me. I draw a lot of inspiration from people around you, like yourself, Kingsley, right? People don't think how much value they can add. But when you look at someone's like, hey, okay, who would you look at someone and it inspires you, right? And I'm like, Elon Musk, Gandhi, and some presidents in the US, presidents of developing countries, and all these things. Or it can be someone just down the road from you. You can always, there's no one person we're all human, right?
Yeah.
So there's no one to I'm going to just this is the person that I'm going to. So once you take all these little bits and pieces from each person, you're going to create your own version of what that person looks like, and that's what you have to live up to. And I think that's what I look at, and I don't put myself under pressure like, oh my God, this is the perfect thing I want to be. But you got something to strive towards.
So is that having the right people around you, is that not just looking at them as an inspiration of who they are and where they're going and what they're doing, is it also having people around you that believe in you? Like, is that a big thing? Because obviously you've got to believe in yourself, but where does that come from as well?
Oh, 100%. You need, we call them mentors, but they can be friends, they can be your parents, they can be anyone. Like, you really truly believes in you. Like, when, there are some, you always go through that dark times. It doesn't matter who you are. You think like, oh, this person is so rich, and oh, this person is so poor, it doesn't matter who you are, right? Everyone goes through something, and you're like, oh, I wish I had their life. Like, I see here people like, oh, Kosy, I wish I had that person's life or this person's life. And I'm like, I would not change my life because I just don't know what they're going through, but I know what I have gone through, and it's good enough because I just want, you just don't know, right? Yeah. But you wish for a lot of people the life that you are living because you are in a good place, and then you think about it like, how do you get to this place? You can't get to a place by yourself. You need good people around you who believes in you and who guides you and who tells you the truth. And another great leader, he just sent me other day a message on WhatsApp. Said, best to hurt you with lies rather than make you happy with, best to make you, happy with or sad with lies rather than make you happy with lies or something. You know what I mean? So
I know where you're saying.
And so it's always being the truth, right? So sad with truth or happy with lies. And it's like, if he's a good friend, you can always make you sad with the truth. So I think when you have people like that, and then you have to really come around and have that true belief of that person, they're doing for the right reasons. And people say, like, some people they say, oh, that's because they're jealous or whatever that is. But if you are big enough, I always look at people and say, like, hey, the more things that you say, like, oh, Kosy, that's not right, this is not right, I would take that lot more than, people say, oh, Kosy, you're doing great here. Then I feel like, oh, I think I might be not doing that great because there's so much to learn. So maybe they're not seeing something that I am not seeing. So then I had to focus a little bit on it,
So let's take that and put it into a leadership role in an organisation. So you've been going about 4 years, is that right?
Yes, yeah. Just over 4
and you've got about 50 staff.
Yes.
Now that is really good going.
Yes.
Like, that's great success. Well done.
Thank you.
To do that. So if we have a look at what you were just talking about, about really having people around you or people who are going to be honest with you, how does that play out? Now, you're obviously the leader. You're running the show. Mm-hmm. How does that play out with people who maybe work for you in whatever position? Do you allow them to say things to you and go, hey, Kosy, what if we did this? Maybe we could do this a little bit better or whatever. How does that work in your organisation, in Blockstars?
It's very simple. In our group of organizations, we have set expectations. So people say, oh, you can't be negative at work and you have to be like all. And people are not like that. We are human, right? But we have an outlet. We say, okay, look, if you want to be negative, you can be negative towards your leader. Tell, like, oh, you know what? I had really bad traffic. I'm late. I don't like about this person and all that stuff. You can tell I don't like this place. Tell your leader, right?
Yeah.
Tell your leader, I don't like you. All right. Tell your leader or the leader above.
Yeah.
That's given because you need to give people a way to express themselves, right? So the negativity always says, like, you can talk to your leaders. Let it go up the chain. Positivity can go anywhere, but you can't let negativity go to your peers or to your people who you're leading. So as a leader, someone say, oh, Kosy, I come around, I don't like things about this website. I don't like about this thing. I'm like, cool, all right, okay, cool. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, how can we work towards? How can we make it fix? Come at me, right? And I'm all about that. And all our leaders are trained to be like that. But at no point I am allowed as a leader to go to a person and say like, oh, that is like really bad job. You done a bad job, because that's negativity going down the chain. You can't say that, but you can be super, what you call constructive and say, hey, can I show you something? Maybe I could be wrong, but can I show you something how I see this could work better? It's about helping them, right? Ultimately. And guiding them, because at the end of the day, as a leader, your job role is not to lead people. You have to be a servient towards your people, right? I think
you were just turning this whole leadership thing on its head.
Oh, I don't know, but
no, and I absolutely love it because it's true.
Yeah,
that's how it really works in the real life. Is you do actually serve people, because if you want to build trust, if you want to build culture, all of that sort of thing, what you're talking about is the best way to do that. And that obviously is one of the reasons for your success and why you've got such a good team with you as well. And I've met a few of your team, and every one of them loves their job, they love their work, and they're all happy.
Yes, thank you.
And it just is. So what you're saying obviously is having a very positive impact, not just in work,
yes,
but outside to other people like me, who is an outsider looking in.
Yes. I mean, like, look, saying that, given we're all human, I do trip over my own shoelaces, right?
Absolutely.
So,
we all do.
yeah, and the biggest, the out of that is like, okay, put your hand up and say, own up to it, rather than just trying to shove it under the carpet.
Yeah.
And, and all of us, I say like, hey, once you at this level, once you're out of kindy, out of school, out of uni, you are an adult, and everyone should be able to have an adult conversation, And I think leading with fear, it's not healthy.
No.
It used to be. Maybe there's once upon a time it was a thing like, okay, I had to be scared of the boss when the boss walks in. Like, there was a time, right? There was a time, and that's okay. It worked that time. But I think we have to change with the time. We have to change the mentality. If you think about the youngsters at the moment, right, the amount of pressures that they're going through, I don't think we appreciate them enough. Like, I read an article somewhere that, when you look at the generations, number of decisions that you made, like our great-grandparents, and how many decisions they made a day. I don't know, my great-grandparents were like farmers in Sri Lanka. So they just like, all right, should go to the farm. Oh, actually it's raining. I should make babies.
Yeah.
Not much going on, right?
Yeah,
it's a farming hobby. And when you start from that one, and when you look at our youngsters now, our children, okay, or should I post this or should I not? Or what is the outside world going to think? How am I going to feel? Or I had to do this one here. Oh, I had to go that one. I had to do a quick, before I do it, I go on X, do a post on X, Insta, TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook. Oh, actually, I had to send a quick email while I'm at it. Oh, I had to pressure off, listen to podcast. Oh my God, on top of that, I had to do this. So when you think of like how much pressure they're going through, and then we are saying like, and I hear people like, oh, the youngsters feel like they, we owe them something. I think that's not right. I have a feeling, when I was growing up, I had friends like that. So it's always, every generation had that, right? But I think we have to appreciate the generations coming through, the pressure that like, I'm sure we're going to talk about a little bit of AI and how that really disrupt our lifestyles, our food, what we eat, and how our mental health. And I think the mental health evolves with technology, right? So there's all that's going on. And I think that's what to empower, understand the youngsters to really, okay, how can you still make them leaders, but not a version of you? It's a version of them with the few years of experience that you had as a leader.
Mate, I'm loving what you're saying, like really loving this, because a lot of people pigeonhole in the younger generation because they're not this and they're not that. And you go back generation after generation that come before us, and they were doing exactly the same thing.
Yes.
And I look at it and I'm like, well, we created that generation.
Yep.
So if that's what they are,
Yes.
then we've got to take a bit of onus on that.
100%.
And the responsibility that you're taking on yourself as a business leader to be able to understand them and go, how can I help you be the best version of you and not complain because they're different?
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic.
Yeah. Thank you. And I think we all have that. We all have that. I think, again, like I said before, I'm going to go back to like, along the way, somewhere something happened and we just changed it. But it's all underneath us because we are humans, we are herd beings, and
Yep.
we are made to help people,
Yes.
right? And we put something over, I don't want to help for something, but I think there's so much opportunities. I think that's what's going to open up with AI. So
Yes.
able to help people.
I love the way you frame how you talk with people of different generations and the younger generation, and just the way that you look at people in life. I think that's one of the things that attracts me to you as a person and as a business leader, is the fact you appreciate stuff. You're grateful for things. You're grateful for people, all of that. And at the same time, you are really on the cutting edge of what's going on. So you manage to be able to, you're one of these, I think, unusual people where you're a geek, but you know how to work well with people at the same time.
Bug.
That's not a common, nothing personal, but it's not necessarily a common thing that happens. So with things that are changing with AI and that sort of thing, how do business owners and business leaders, how do they need to view that coming into their business, being part of their business, and the younger, let's say younger generation, that seems to be what you say, coming through, and it's part of their life.
Yep.
It's what they do. How do business owners accept, involve, and make it part of what they are and not get scared of it?
Oh, it's easy.
Okay.
You know why?
Great.
You know why? Because all of us have gone through with computers.
Yeah.
Right? And we were the young ones then. We were the young ones, right? And we came and disrupted all the older ones, like, I don't know, my age, not your age, but my age. You know, you're still young. You're still young, Kingsley. So we went in with computers and they're like using typewriters. I remember this time, like, my dad took me to an exhibition that they had electronic typewriters. Oh my God, that was, I'm like, wow, with my mom using typewriter. This is like electronic typewriters. I'm like, wow, this is like so cool. So then the computers come along and the typewriter's like, oh, what are we supposed to do? No, we don't type in letters anymore. Now executives start typing their own emails and typing their own documents. And what about who's typist? So we were the young ones then who came in and changed how that worked. And now it's happening to us. I think we should appreciate it now. I'm like, okay, you know what? How can this benefit me? Because when I did computing and new tech and the mobile phones and texting and social media and all that stuff, when other people are like still getting hang of emails, right? You were cool with Facebook. Now, you didn't do that with a bad mindset. You didn't go and say like, okay, I'm going to just mess that person's life. That was not it. Technology, you can't stop technology. You can't slow it down. Technology will take its own pace. And along the line, there are some people get left out, but ultimately they find other opportunities again, because everything creates opportunities. It doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
So I would say for the leaders, I would say look back at a time that what you were doing, you came in like super cool. And then, you're not cool anymore. That's okay, right? That's okay. And give other kids like the cool kids. Let them experiment and let them fail in a safe place, because you are there to make sure that you grow them safely, but not just hand out to everything, but let them fail, but in a safe place. Don't just like, oh my God, you did something bad and I'm going to, not repercussions, but let them understand what happened. So I think when you look at from the human aspect, it doesn't matter what technology, it could be, AI could just disappear and we'll have quantum computing next. Right. So what's going to happen then? What are we going to do at all then? Because quantum computing can run a company, can run a country. You don't need politicians to tell us what to do, because quantum computing will do everything, because that's another whole different thing, right? So technology will always evolve, but I bring it back to what are we supposed to do? So if you separate them two together, they're just calculator came along, so you don't need people who sit there and do calculations for you anymore. Like in the banks, right? I was told in the pre-old days, they used to have maths people at the bank to do the calculations. So they calculate, right?
Yeah.
So the calculators came along and they're like, oh, what are we supposed to do now? So they went back to academia, became professors, maths professors and all that stuff, right? So what I'm looking at with the whole AI coming to it, it's just another wave. But look at the human element and how can you help people? People get scared like, oh my God, this is going to, I feel like I'm late because the cycles of technology becomes fast and compressed. So instead of 10-year cycles, we are having 5-year, 4-year cycles. And now with AI, maybe 2-year cycles, right? And you can't slow it down.
No.
You can't slow it down, right? So as business leaders, I'm saying leaders, like, don't worry about it. You don't have to be the expert at every single version of ChatGPT, right? You can jump in at ChatGPT 4.5 now and play around.
It's interesting. I remember when desktop computers were starting to become like lots of businesses were using them.
Yes.
All of a sudden.
Yes.
And the conversations about, well, computers are going to take over all the jobs and we won't be needing people. What are people going to do? So many people are going to be out of work because the computers are going to do all their jobs for them. But yet when you look at it, the number of not just businesses, but whole industries that were spawned from the fact of now there's desktop computers everywhere and what that leads onto, and then the internet comes along. Well, now what are we going to do with everything? Where are we going to fit in? We won't need all of these things because the computer's got it all. It just keeps happening. And I think going back to what you said earlier is there's opportunities everywhere.
Yeah.
And it seems like, and you're in this space, like you're one of the leaders in this space, I believe, and at least probably in the country, if not further afield. The opportunities that are there that are coming up for us, and it's not a matter of getting rid of people.
No.
But it's working with together.
Yes.
How do you see that?
Okay, so one of the businesses that we work with, when you come to, we develop this AI voice agent, and a lot of people are like, I don't believe in AI. Okay, that's cool. It's not good at the stage per se. Like, it's not like a superhuman. Like, you know what? But when you look at 3 months ago to now, it's like maybe 30-fold improvement. So at that space, I'm like, maybe in about another 2 months, it'll be very, very good, right? And but in that, while you're doing that, what we found was we implemented this tech to a large retail customer, and they had close about 10 customer service agents, humans. And so we implemented this tech, and the number of people went down to 2 people in the department. So what the business did, instead of saying, okay, look, let's fire them, instead of like, because all these people are doing is answering calls about, hey, okay, this is how you should do your reset password, this is how you do your payments, this is how you do this thing, this is how you buy things, all that. Is your store open? Things like that, right? So rather than answering those questions, and it's not good for the soul anyway, for some people, but they're doing it because they need a paycheck, right? And it's great. Rather than just sitting there, they're doing something to get that paycheck. So I have massive respect to people, and they're doing the hardest jobs out there, those people. So I have a different type of appreciation for people who works in call centers because, oh my God, superheroes, superheroes, right? And to hear that constantly, the mindset that you just be someone like that, get understand about mindset, to hit that no, right?
Absolutely,
it's unreal. So what they did was, instead of letting them go, they got them to do customer relations. So they would call up customers instead of receiving calls. Now they call customers like, hey, how was the experience? What else can we do for you? Is there anything that can we make your experience better? So now they're bringing value to business rather than just, so there are good people who they hired for a reason, right? They hired them because they're good people. They fit the company culture and they're stuck there for a long time. Not stuck there, but they work there for a long time. And so why would you let people like that go? You can add so much value to your business. And that's what AI is going to enable us.
Yes.
It's a freedom to give people purpose.
And it sounds like what you're talking about there is actually not transactional side of things. It is that serving the customers and the clients. And if you're doing that side of things, then they're going to want to stick with you because
100%.
you actually care about me as your customer. I want to buy off you. And it makes a big difference. And it's easy sometimes, I think, for business leaders to look and go, okay, I can't see an actual bottom line figure on here that directly relates to that there. Where if you understand how people work, you do understand that that can be one of the best sales tactics, so to speak, that you can have going out there, is actually going and serving and helping people. How can we do better?
100%. And I think you said something really good, like pointing at one thing that make a business work. There are so many little things, and it compounds, right? It compounds and compounds. And I think that's where a lot of people don't realize, hey, if I do something here, they don't see the compounding impact. I don't think they see it. I think some people are only, they're in their little world, they're doing that department, but they don't see where the other dominoes fall.
Yeah.
And this, as leaders, I think that's our responsibility, showcase, hey, it doesn't matter what you do, and this is the impact that you have, ultimate. Like, for example, I'll just use something from my experience, that I had a seafood restaurant. It was not successful, but right, it was a good project for me. I learned a lot of lessons. Stay away from that, because it's I have massive appreciation for these people who run hospitality.
Yeah.
Oh my God, hard yakka. So what I say is, like, it doesn't matter whether you clean the windows or wipe the tables, because what happens when you clean the windows, it looks presentable. You can't see anything like out of shape. People are like, oh, you know what? This looks like a good place to eat. So once you come there, when you walk in through the door, and the next thing person's going to see is like who's in the counter. So you have to smile, welcome them, and once you do that, when you sit at the table, okay, now what? If the tables are sticky or don't have cutlery, so what you're doing is you're building up that experience, and you giving that bowl to the chef to be the best at it. So when he brings his food, it's just like, oh, you know what? Everything step has been so good, one after another, one after another. So the food is going to be so good. And then when they leave, they're like, oh, okay, thank you so much. And when they pay, they feel like, oh, you know what? They're paying for something great, and they receive something. And when they leave, so I said, look, if any of those steps fails, it doesn't matter the chef has the best food, because up to that point they had bad experience. So then the food is not going to be as tasty as it would be, because your emotions are different, right? So I think as a leader, I think that's where you should spend your time in, to show people, hey, whatever you're doing, do it with pride, because that has a massive compounding effect at the other end. So whether you're answering calls or you are emptying the dustbin, whatever that is. Because if you don't empty the dustbin, guess what? It's going to get filled and smelly and everything. The compounding effect is bad. But if you just do it, it has a big impact.
That's absolutely genius. And it also says that no matter what your role is in an organization, you are vitally important.
100%.
Vitally important. Because you're right. If any one of those steps doesn't happen, the rest falls apart.
Yep.
That's brilliant. And I guess that goes back to your point earlier, where you respecting whoever it is, whatever role they're playing, whatever they're doing, they're incredibly important to everything working.
100%.
That's awesome.
I think that's all of us knows that, but I don't think even myself, sometimes I feel like I'm not taking enough time to tell people, hey, you're doing a great job. And that's all people want to hear sometimes.
Yeah.
That they're being socially recognized.
Yeah, I'm going to take that on board myself to do more of that.
Yeah.
I do it, but I think from what you're saying, I don't do it enough.
Yeah, I think all of us, can do a lot more. If you do 100 times, you can do another one better.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
no, I'm gonna do that. Thank you. That's a good thing. Hey, Kosy, I hate to say this, but our time's up.
Oh,
we're
wow.
done. I know it went really quick. Thank you so much for being on here. I just love like your attitude, your heart towards people and business and that sort of thing. And you're growing a phenomenal business very quickly. There's so much more stuff that we wanted to talk about, but we'll get you back and do it again at another time. But I like to end the podcast with two questions. The first one is, what to you is the ultimate tomorrow?
Ultimate tomorrow is being able to help someone. it doesn't matter however you do it, right? But having the opportunity to help someone, I think that's great. I go out looking to help people. It doesn't matter whatever it is, right? Getting a bottle of water or whatever that is, right? I think that really makes you. That's what I wake up. I like if I wake up a day and like, oh, no one needs my help. I can't be a servant to someone. I mean, that will be a pretty bad day for me.
I love that. It's the first time I've had that. That's really cool. The second one, how do you create the ultimate tomorrow?
So this doesn't apply to everyone, but for me, there's a great YouTube from one of the Navy SEALs, admirals, very famous, right? He's giving one of the convocations in the US, a speech.
I think I know the one. Yep.
Right? It's very famous. And how, what is the first win you should have is make your bed. That's the win, right?
Yeah.
So for me, that's how I started. And then when I wake up and I do a bit of workout, and I say like, okay, when I work out, I'm like, okay, this is the hardest thing I'm going today. And from here, everything's going to be so easy. But if I make it so hard, nothing's going to stop me today. Right? And that's how I create it.
Yeah.
So then anything comes along, I'm like, oh, you know what? I done that this morning. I was like so tired, like everything, And that makes you. So I created. You had to create these things.
Yeah.
And anchor yourself to something that brought you happiness, or you overcame a challenge, or you did something great to someone, or whatever that is. Something that happy and something that is great. Anchor yourself in certain things. It can be physical, it can be emotional, it can be people. You might say like, you know what, every time I go and say good morning to this person, that is my anchor thinking like, you know what, this person brought me happiness. This person believed in me. So in my mind, if I have this person to change his life or her life, I think I can do it for another million people. Right? So that's the person you anchor. So you go and say good morning to this person because now your day is anchored to this person. So once you set up those anchors everywhere in your life, you are always setting yourself to trip over success, right? That's how I look at it.
You've said so many brilliant things that are very much the opposite of how people do look at a lot of things in all reality. And I appreciate that because everything you've said, I 100% back and think it's absolutely fantastic what you're doing. And you've got proof that it works because of what you're doing and the business you're building and the culture you have and the team that you have. Yeah. So it's not like you're just throwing out some theories here. It's actually working every single day. Thank you so much for coming on the Tomorrow's Not Today podcast. Really appreciate you as a person and your friendship and what you have said. And we're definitely going to get you back to tackle on some of the other things as well.
Kingsley, thank you so much for having me and love the conversation. And would love to actually hear more about your side of the story. You know what I mean? Yeah. This is on my side. And I think, someone told me just before they passed away, very, very smart person. You know that person, like a coaching head and in a coaching group. And he said, Kosy, life happens with conversations. So I think it's super important to keep this going. I think you're bringing the good side of people and keep going. And you're adding so much value. And I loved watching your podcast. So can't wait.
Perfect. Thank you, Kosy. Remember, create the life that you want.